Let's get right to it. Your grade will be based on the mastery level of each standard. Each standard will also be a separate grade in the grade book. So if we cover 20 different standards this 9 weeks, you're going to have 20 grades in the grade book. And those grades will be based on the assessments that we do in class. So let's say that test 1, we're assessing 4 different standards. Standard 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4. For each standard, there might be 10 questions on the test. So let's just say that there's 40 questions, for example, on this test, and 10 out of each of those, or out of the 40 questions, there's 10 each per standard. Let's share the screen and give you guys an example. So here you see a sample grade book, just an Excel spreadsheet that I changed it into a grade book. So on that first test, you got 9 out of 10 questions that were assessing standard 8.1 correct. For 8.2, you got 8 out of 10 correct. For 8.3, you got all 10 correct. And for 8.4, you got 7 out of 10 correct when it came to assessing that standard. Okay, so right now, the grades are 90, 80, 100, 70. So the average is out for a 9 weeks average of an 85. Now, these grades will be fluid, unfixed, until the end of the 9 weeks. So that means that if on the second test, let's just say on the second test, I'm assessing mainly standard 5 and standard 6. So let's say you get 10 out of 10 on both of those correct. So those will go into the grade book 100%. You've got 100% of the questions for those standards correct. Now, like I said, the grades are fluid. So also on test 2, you had 2 questions from each of the previous standards. So we kind of review those standards on the second test. For standard 1, you got 2 out of 2 correct. So now for this 9 weeks, you've gotten 11 out of 12 questions correct when it comes to standard 1. So 11 out of 12 is 92%. So that one went up. Standard 2, you also got 2 out of 2 correct. So now you've answered 10 out of 12 correctly that 9 weeks. So that makes it a 83. For standard 3, you missed 1 of the 2 questions. So now you've gotten 11 out of 12 correct for standard 3. So that one actually goes down to a 92. So grades can go up, but they can also go down. For standard 4, you got 2 out of 2 correct on test 2. So that one goes to a 9 for 12, which is a 75%. And so your 9 weeks average, let's add these other ones in. Divide by 6, because we now have 6 grades. So you went up from an 85 to a 90 after test 2. So you can see that these standards, your grades, are based on each standard. This is an accurate depiction of your mastery of these grades. Not only does it test what you know at that point, but it's also testing how much you know as you go along. So it requires you to retain your knowledge and not just cram for a test and then forget it. But it also gives you the opportunity, if you do bad at the very beginning, you can remediate that score as you continue to get better and continue to master those standards as we go along. Then you can improve your grade as you go through the 9 weeks.